If you want to use SPSS to create graphs, there are two ways that is typically accomplished. Previously, all versions of SPSS included a chart builder that allows you to create graphs. However, the chart builder may not be included in IBM's limited function student version of SPSS. If you have a version of SPSS with the chart builder, it just may happen that when you begin to use it, you will see this warning dialog. Feel free to read it or ignore it. But whatever you do, click on the box next to Don't Show This Dialog Box Again. Then click OK, and we can move on. So this is the chart builder. When you get to the chart builder through the drop-down menus, you'll use Graphs, then Chart Builder. This is the dialog box that will open. Let me familiarize you with the areas that you will want to know about. Let's start down here with the gallery. The gallery is where you choose the type of graph that you want to create. For instance, bar graphs, scatter plots, histograms, or box plots. Once you have chosen your test, you will see the options available for that type of test in the chooser. In this example, I have chosen histogram. There are 4 types of histograms available. I want to use a simple histogram, so I drag simple histogram up into the canvas. The canvas is where a preview of sorts will display as I'm setting up the graph. This is not a true preview, and the graph that you see on the canvas will not look like your final graph. If you are seated next to someone in the computer lab, your canvas will not look like their canvas, even if you do the same steps with the same variable at the same time. No problem. For the histogram, we have drop zones for the x and y axis. I can drag variables to the x-axis drop zone or the y-axis drop zone. The variables are in the Variables box. Some drop zones will accommodate dropping more than one variable when doing repeated measures graphs. Finally, we can tweak the settings of the results in the element properties. For instance, we can add labels to the x and y axis, or decide whether to report mean or percentage. Those are the basics of the chart builder. Now, let me tell you about the data set that we will be using. The data set that we will use for almost all of the graphing examples is called clickers.sav. These are data that I collected with a colleague, Dr. Kristen Tivner, for a publication about the use of clickers in improving education and group discussions. The suffix .sav tells you that this is an SPSS data set. We will use a variety of variables from this data set. One of our research questions was whether students who A. share a single clicker with other group members participate in an interactive activity more or less than B. students who use individual clickers. In the experiment, you would be sitting at a table with 8 people. During the seminar, you would be given a task to work on at your table. At the end of the discussion, you would vote using your clicker. Now, it may be that everyone at your table has his or her own clicker. Or you may be at a table with a single clicker, where the group has to vote on a group response. Would having to share a single clicker change the level of group participation? Level of participation was measured among 166 seminar participants after each of 3 rounds of group interactions. Participation was measured using a Likert-type rating scale with scores ranging from 1 to 7, where 7 equals high participation in the group and 1 equals low participation in the group. We will use the clickers.sav dataset extensively as we learn about graphing in SPSS. Go ahead and open the dataset now in SPSS before you continue through the rest of the videos.